Are you in denial? Good day and welcome to Psych Sense, where we make sense of mental health. I'm Ken Mallon, your host, and today we're talking about psychological defense mechanisms. We'll explore what it means to be in denial and describe some of the other common defense mechanisms. Now, there are so many psychological terms and phrases that have entered everyday speech, and asking someone if they are in denial is one of the common ones. We use a lot of psychological terms in everyday speech, like I'm depressed or I'm acting bipolar, but you don't actually mean those things. So I'll explain what denial really means, but before I jump in, just a little history. Now, we all know about the famous Sigmund Freud, but many people don't know that his daughter, Anna Freud, was also a brilliant psychoanalyst. Now, one of the areas of psychology that they both contributed to is the study of defense mechanisms. There are a number of defense mechanisms, and some of them are shown in this image. You can see some on here, for example, denial, which I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But let me just explain what is a defense mechanism. Defense mechanism is an unconscious psychological mechanism meant to reduce anxiety. So what am I really talking about here? Another way it is described is to say it's that when the unconscious mind manipulates, denies, or distorts reality to avoid having anxiety or unacceptable impulses. So in other words, reality happens to you, you're not very pleased with reality, it's making you upset, it's making you want to react a certain way, and so you kind of distort or manipulate what's really going on so that you don't feel so anxious and you don't feel the impulses that you're feeling. For example, suppose you're an adult and you have a 3-year-old child and you're about to have a new baby, and let's say you have the new baby. The 3-year-old meets the new baby, and when you bring the baby home, you discover that your 3-year-old has destroyed her favorite doll. Now, what's going on here? This is an example of a defense mechanism known as displacement. Displacement is when someone redirects a feeling from one object to another. In this case, your 3-year-old is angry at the new baby. But rather than hurting the new baby, there's a defense mechanism where they go and hurt something that symbolizes the baby, basically this doll. And it's a defense. It's defending against harming somebody. So it's actually a good thing that it's happening. But the reason it's happening is because the child feels anxious or confused about the way their parents are redirecting love and attention to the new baby. So rather than hurting your brother, she destroys the doll. Now, if you were to ask her why she didn't, she wouldn't be able to tell you. For one reason, she's 3 and probably can't articulate very well. But even if she was a bit older, she wouldn't be able to tell you, and the reason is because this is done subconsciously. She's not thinking to herself, gosh, I'm really mad at my brother, so I'm going to injure this thing that looks like my brother. No, that is not happening consciously, it's happening subconsciously. Now, typically when someone says you're in denial, they aren't applying the real psychological definition. For example, if you've just taken your chemistry final and your parents ask you how you did on the test, you might say, fine, even if you know you didn't do well. So consciously you know you didn't do well, and subconsciously you maybe know that too, but your parents might say, really, maybe you're in denial. Now, you're not actually in denial, right? You're just hiding the truth. What's really going on here is that you're being conflict avoidant, which is a completely different topic and isn't really part of a defense mechanism. Now, let me give you another example of a defense mechanism. One I see often is called rationalization. Now, as the word may imply, this is when you kind of give a reason for something. It can occur in many situations, but it's often used to giving an excuse. So rather than facing a real, often painful, true reason why you had a certain behavior, you give an alternative excuse that may make sense, but isn't actually true. For example, suppose you failed to study hard enough on a test and you end up getting a C, when if you had really done your best, you probably would have gotten a B or an A. Now, when someone asks you what happened, you say that the people who got higher grades cheated. You say, yeah, I got a C, but all those people that did better than me cheated. Now, what you're giving is a possible reason, but you're doing it because you don't want to face the reality that you failed to study as hard as you should have. Now, this is rationalization, which is another defense mechanism. So let me tell you another example. Suppose you get invited to a party, and at the last minute you find out that a certain person will be there that you really don't want to run into. Maybe you had a breakup with someone, she's going to show up, and you just don't want to deal with it. Now after the party, someone asks you, hey, why didn't you go to the party? And you make up an excuse. You say the traffic was bad, which, although maybe that's true, it isn't the real reason you didn't go. You're in denial about the real reason because you don't want to face the painful emotions that you might have felt had you run into this person. I hope you enjoyed learning about defense mechanisms and denial, and so if you're interested in how people think, feel, and behave, you might want to just go ahead and look up psychological defenses, and then you'll know more about why you and your friends might behave a certain way. So with that, I want to thank you for watching Psych Sense, where we make sense of mental health. I'm Ken Mallon, your host, and I'll see you next time.